Good evening, everyone. It is Miss Council coming back at you once again. Thank you so much for joining me today on this Friday Eve. It's Thursday, but I like to call it Friday Eve. Got to get ready, getting weekend minded. Gives me a little hope to make it through the week, right? How's everybody doing tonight? I'm just gonna wait for everybody to join my family. Some blood relatives, some family that I've met here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, I got my biggest fan here, my big sister. Hey, girl, hey. Give me a thumbs up so I know that you hear me. Who else do we have with us today? Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Hey, Helen. Hey, Christy. Good to see y'all back. Hey, sis. Hey, Terry. Good to see everybody tonight. I see my big brother just popped in. Welcome, welcome. I see another lovely face that just popped in. How y'all doing today? It's Friday Eve. We're getting ready to head straight into the weekend. I know we got to work tomorrow, but got to get crunk about something. So, Friday Eve, right? Well, I am Miss Council, and I'm coming back at you again with another topic. Wanted to talk to you just for a little while, while I have a little time, have your attention for a little while. I hope everybody's doing well and staying safe. Staying inside, wearing your mask if you're going out. That's very important. Um, but tonight, I am Miss Council, and I am a relationship life coach, and I help divorced women uh, get their lives back after divorce, and I help remarried women have successful marriages. So, a little bit about my background. If anyone's just joining me for the first time, I married young, had a beautiful child who's almost 18, empty nest coming up, and I got divorced. And I really went through a tough time and went through it almost by myself. Didn't want anybody to know. Shame, hurt, embarrassment, depression, you name it. Broke, busted, or disgusted. That was me. And I promise, you know how you make those promises to God, like, you know what, Lord, if I ever get out of this, fill in the blank. Well, that was me. If I ever make it through this, I'm gonna write a book about it. Now, I say that also about a lot of things, especially if I make it through these teenage years. I'm almost there, so y'all look for another book. It's coming. Well, I'm so happy to have you here again tonight, and happy to have any new viewers here with me. Thank you all so much for continuing to support me, and please like and share this video. Thank you all for always liking and sharing the posts that I post on Mondays and Thursdays, letting people know what the topic is going to be. Hey, if you have any topics that you would like for me to talk about, please let me know. Drop me a note, text me, Skypace, carrier pigeon, smoke signal, send it out. Hey, Georgette. Hey, good to see you on with us this evening. So, one of the things that I like to do is recap what we talked about last time. I'm not going to go all the way through it, but I like to recap the last video. So, today is Thursday, June the 18th. And so, on Monday, we talked about intimacy and relationships. Now, I say that with caution, but we had a good chat, and I shared a lot of information about intimacy and relationships. First of all, I said several times, intimacy is more than just sex. And I talked about the 5 different levels of intimacy, 4 different types of intimacy, and the 4 types being experiential, emotional, sexual, and I'm missing one. I'm missing one. How am I missing one? Intellectual. It was the other one. So, so many different types of intimacy. And I had some of you guys to reach out to me and say, you know what? I never knew that there were different types. And then when we talked about the levels of intimacy, there are 5 different levels to intimacy. Hey, Frederica, I see you're on. Vanessa, I see you're on. Thanks for joining. But we learned a lot. Hey, I learned a lot because I go out and do research so I can share information with y'all. And so we talked about a fear of intimacy and everything. And so what I want to do is I'm going to come back to you one day and talk about that at a later time, and be able to share with you more about intimacy and the fear of intimacy and, being vulnerable. So, that's a hard thing, definitely a hard thing to do. I gave you some takeaways to restore and rebuild intimacy in your relationship. So go check that video out if you are interested to know about intimacy in a relationship. So tonight, for the time that is mine, I won't hold you long. You know how the pastor always tell that. But if I start feeling it, no, if I start feeling it, I might start, may stay in a little longer. But I love to hear feedback. I love for the audience to interact with me and tell me what your thoughts are as we're sharing and as I'm sharing these little tidbits, this little wisdom. So please don't hesitate to comment. Make sure that you're sharing this video, that you're liking this post. Hey, you know a friend, tag a friend. You can just share the video right to their messenger. Nobody will ever know. But please continue to share. I thank you so much for continuing to view. So let's get down to this topic today, y'all. It ain't what you say, it's how you say it. One more time for those in the back. It ain't what you say. It's how you say it. Now, I just want to tell you a little bit about what inspired this topic today. I have discussions with people, after I have post these videos. I have my faithful few that reach out to me and give me feedback. And, it sparks conversation and we're able to, have a good dialogue about some of the topics, the things they had never known, some things they liked that I said. And in a conversation, they were asking, what is going to be your next topic? I said, I really want to talk about communication because, communication is my thing. I have a bachelor's of communication and, people always say in a relationship, what's the most important thing? Communication. And then they just drop it right there. They don't tell you what. I mean, that's just like giving you a good piece of cream cheese pound cake and don't tell you like what's in it. Well, cream cheese, it's in the title, but they don't really tell you what exactly it means. So I like to talk about communication, but when talking to friends, I was talking about how, an argument quickly ensues sometimes, and how, there are some touchy topics that they have to tiptoe around in relationships. So, I came up with this title. It ain't what you say, it's how you say it. I mean, and that's the word right there. In that title is the word. It ain't what you say, it's how you say it. So let's delve a little bit deeper in that. But first, I have a confession. I used to go to toe. I could argue with the best of them, really. I refer to myself as the great debater. I mean, I give you chapter verse, like, hold up, let me flip this page, and on chapter 12, page 18, I could tell you exactly why I was right. But I realized that, I wasn't getting anywhere with that method. So, arguing with people and breathing hard and being stressed out, that was getting me nowhere. Georgia said, I can't believe that. Hey, it's in me. It's a couple people knew me from diapers on this video right now. They can tell you the truth. So one thing that I want you to know is about communication, and it ain't what you say, it's how you say it. You know how they say measure twice and cut once? That's to make sure, if you make sure you have it right the first time, then you don't have to do it again. So measure twice, cut once, right? So, if we had a piece of wood and we were building something, we had a piece of wood. Once you cut the wood, I won't say that it's no longer any good, but if you don't cut it to the right length, then it won't fit into what you're trying to build, right? So measure twice and cut once. In communication, so I want to apply that there. In communication, you have to think twice and speak once. Because once it's out of your mouth, you can't take it back. They heard it already. You already said it. It's kind of like, you ever see those little videos of people typing text and they type this whole sentence and then they delete it back out and then they retype it again and there's something else really funny and then they delete it back out. It's what they really want to say, but they're like, how do I say it better? So it's a way of, like, when we see that those bubbles, when we've texted someone and we're waiting for the response. So those bubbles need to be happening in your brain before it comes out of your mouth. even if you got to count those bubbles. And so you have to really process what you want to say before you say it. And then as those bubbles, your little thinking bubble is going on, if it doesn't sound right to you, don't let it fall out your face. That's one of the tips right there. Don't let it fall out of your face. If it doesn't sound right to you, then keep it to yourself. You need to keep on thinking about that thing and rephrasing it. And how would I, yeah, because it's going to be something that you're going to end up having to take back or saying I'm sorry about. So really think about it. Let your little bubble, your little typing bubble, let those little dots go for a minute. Like, I want to say it, but I can't say it that way. So, and like Georgette says, the other person has to receive what's being communicated. That's important because that's the flow of communication. Because if they're not receiving the intended message, then the communication is kind of dead in the water. So the next thing I want to say is don't be petty. They ain't ready. Don't be petty. I mean, I can put my petty hat on real quick, but when you are in a relationship with somebody, you can't be petty. I have to remind myself that like every 5 minutes. No, I have, don't be petty because they ain't ready. And the reason why I say that is because you have to choose wisely as to when you're going to approach it with your mate, your concerns, whatever it is that you are internally upset about. Freddie says, if it doesn't sound right to you, don't let it fall out your face. Oh, that's right. Oh, that was point one. Thank you. That was point one. If it doesn't sound right to you, don't let it fall out of your face. But don't be petty. They ain't ready. Because if you approach your mate with your concerns, just imagine while they trying to watch the reruns of the NBA finals. I mean, I ain't trying to step on no toes or upset nobody, but we watching reruns of that stuff now. Or the World Cup. Or catching up on Real Housewives, or Married to Medicine, or whatever, Love and Hip Hop, whatever it is that you watch, or you're binge watching Game of Thrones. That's not the right time to go up and try to address some concerns. Or what if that person's having some me time? They're just trying to relax. They've just gotten home from work or logged off of the computer, for those who are working from home. And you want to roll right in there like, remember that time you had said this and you had this? Like, first of all, I mean, I do that bobblehead thing well, don't I? I know. I told you, I ain't who I used to be. I had to learn. So, Georgette says, what's hard is choosing not to be petty when your partner is being petty. Ooh, that's the real challenge. Ooh, we're going to talk about that in a minute. So, my next point is that I want you to listen. Instead, listen and be prepared to give them the same courtesy. So you want to listen, but your partner also has to be prepared to give you the same courtesy. So you want to listen attentively, not defensively. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. You're listening. Now, you're not sitting up there like, or let me write down because I know I forget what I need to say. You need to listen for what the issue is. Listen to what it is that they're saying. What is, look at their body language. What is their emotion? Are they crying? Are they frowning? Do they have an angry face? Whatever it is, no matter what it is that they're saying, for some reason, they feel that way and they want to share that with you. So number one, be appreciative of the fact that somebody wants to tell you, because there's a whole lot of people out here who think we mind readers, or think their mates are mind readers, and they won't even tell you what's wrong. Like, he know how I feel. He know how I feel already, so I ain't got to tell him, hey, I've been guilty of that as well. He already knows. He know what I like, but we really haven't shared that. So listen attentively and not defensively. I mean, listen for the problem. Because 9 times out of 10, if somebody's taking the time to share with you and be vulnerable, remember we talked about that in the levels of intimacy, be vulnerable and tell you how they feel. They say, oh, men don't like discussing their feelings. That's not true. There's some women out there who the same could be said for. But if a person is taking the opportunity to share with you and sit you down and say, hey, I didn't like this when you did this, or I have a problem with this. However it is, listen for that problem because they're going to tell you what it is. So if you're paying attention, you're listening attentively, then you're going to hear what the problem is. And when you do have an opportunity to speak, you can ask more questions about it, and you can also give your response. But notice I said give your response because I said listen attentively, not defensively. So don't listen to that person talking. Again, here go my face. I'm listening to you, but I'm not really, I ain't studying what you're saying. I'm just over here like, if he don't hurry up, it's like, I could have had a V8. I don't even know why he talking to me. But you're listening, you're being, your body language is saying you don't care. But also, if you're trying to formulate that response and you're trying to jump in there with your response, and so you could be defensive, the person who's talking sees that in your body language. They see it in your eyes, and if they know you, they know what you're doing. I'm just speaking from experience. They know, my mate knows me, and these are, look. I'm just, I always say I'm telling you what I know, not what I heard. I can't tell you things that I don't struggle with. I can't tell you things that I haven't done. So life is the best teacher. They don't give you a degree in life. They may call it life university, but that's not what they're teaching you. So listen for the problem, listen attentively, listen for the problem, and then acknowledge. You know, okay. Rather than, that's different, right? So, okay, like this is an understanding nod rather than, that's my favorite face, y'all know. So, silently show that you're understanding. And don't roll your eyes. Don't roll your eyes because that doesn't, you ever been the recipient of a good old long eye roll? That says something to me. That speaks so loudly. So you got to watch your face. You got to watch the tone of your body. We don't realize that our bodies have a tone. And now that we're wearing masks, I can see I can see people's body language even better, and I'm looking at the eyes and everything. So that they have a tone, and I'm assuming if you're with your partner, your mate, that you're not wearing a mask, so they can see your face, they can see all of this at the same time, and listen for the problem, acknowledge it, and wait your turn. When it's your turn, remember I said in the beginning, listen and give them the same courtesy when they're talking. And so when it's your turn to respond, be respectful and state the facts. I know when you're in a personal relationship now, because this could be applied in so many ways. Also, in the office, in relationships, with your kids, with people you ain't with anymore. You want to be able to get some type of resolution. So in arguments, I think with arguing, you're not getting to the resolution because it's a back and forth. It's a competition. So if you're going back and forth, if you are like literally, like if we were playing ping pong and you were going back and forth, you're going back and forth until one person can't hit the ball. So that's what's happening in an argument. You're going back and forth until somebody knocks the ball out of bounds, or you're going back and forth until that person misses the ball and it bounces on the table and they don't hit it. Or however it goes. Nobody tried, y'all might correct me on that, but y'all get my point, right? We volleying back and forth, and it's an even playing field until somebody misses a step, and that's when the other person wins. Isn't that interesting about games? You get a point for the other person making a mistake. So, but you have to make sure that you are being respectful when you are sharing. You have to be respectful when you're listening. Teresa says it's very hard not to roll your eyes when you are biting your tongue. It is. But you got to practice that face, because you got to also know that that person is the shoe's going to be on the other foot at some point in time. And when it is, you want to remember, I said you want to give them the same courtesy. So this is one of those things where I'm going to say what mama would say: treat others how you want to be treated. Not an eye for an eye, but treat other people how you want to be treated. So that's why I say give people the same courtesy. So Freddie says, "Who has to have the last word?" Hey, hey, once you knock the ball out of bounds, so many times that if you're keeping score, somebody's gonna lose at some point in time. So that's why I say it cannot be a competition. So I'll admit it. I let y'all know I'm not perfect. And sometimes you just want to say it from your chest. I know. Sometimes you don't feel like dressing nothing up, trying to let the little bubbles go and let me think real hard before I let this out of my mouth. I know. Um, Somebody told me that's called the proverbial flipping of the table. Hey, sometimes, I know it. You want to do it. I want to do it. But that's not productive. And knowing that nothing is perfect, nobody is perfect. And sometimes it happens that way. But when you done flip the table over, y'all over here playing cards, playing spades, and you done flip the table over, that means the game is over, right? That means that something has to change. You have rearranged the whole room. So flip the table over, meaning you said it from your chest. It was like, I just needed to put it out there. Now you deal with it. In a situation like that, that means you're not really looking for the response. So instead, you have to state how you feel. Because remember earlier I said nobody is a mind reader. And well, nobody in my circle. Because if y'all are, y'all go ahead and drop me those cash 3, cash 4, mega millions, whatever. Y'all drop me those numbers because somebody knows. But I would also say be mindful. I talked about your tone. I talked about your body language. I know it's hard to not roll your eyes when you bite your tongue, but you need to place your tongue, at the roof of your mouth or somewhere. You got to practice it because, and I'm gonna get to that. That's going to be my next point. But be mindful, and then also when you're trying to communicate, you have to give examples of what the issue is, and I like to say attach a description of how they made you feel. Sometimes you got to lead with that. You know, it really upset me when you flipped the table over. We were talking about flipping the tables. It really upset me when you did this. Versus, now good and well, I don't like it when because you're coming at a person. I know I always do the bobblehead thing, but it's just that's my character for for me going off and pointing. But you have to be able to, like I said, be mindful of your tone, give an example, because don't generalize. You always burn the toast. Do I always burn the toast? Or did I burn it yesterday? But be specific, give examples. I'm not saying chapter and verse and give that person a date, but I guess it also depends on how long you let that bubble go, how long you think about it. If it takes you 2 weeks to come back and talk to somebody about what you were upset about, we need to schedule some time together. So, so we could do a little bit better with that. The other thing is, and that's what I said I was going to talk about, is you have to teach people how to communicate with you. I just want to sit that there for a minute. Teach people how to communicate with you. You have to do that at work too. You have to help people to understand how you like to be talked to, because people are going to just do what they are used to doing. You know how they say once you've had one child, you're different with the other kids, and you might not buy the Huggies diapers, you buy the Loves and everything, but you'll go from one person to the next person, whether that's going from work to home or from one relationship to the next, and try to treat people just as you treated everybody else in the past. So you may be the recipient of some, this how I used to treat everybody, or this how I treat everybody. So teach people how to treat you. I've learned how to show love and respect even when I'm communicating with my mate, to let him know how I feel about something, or that I have a concern. Over the course of getting to know each other, we know what our triggers are, and how we like to receive bad news. Like, when you really think about it, do y'all know what I'm talking about? Like, you have to really have these discussions and share with your mate. Like, if you got, some people might say, tell me something good first. Like, I'm a communications major, and people say, I talk, if I have something bad to share, I use the sandwich method, so I'm going to compliment first, then tell you something, tell you something that's not so great, and then I'm gonna round it off with a compliment. Like, you really did a good job with that event. I really enjoyed it, but we're not going to use your services anymore. But I hope everything goes well, with your job, with your company in the future. So I'm gonna give them the good, give them the bad, and round it off with something else. But like for me, I don't like people to yell at me, and that's something that my husband knows. He knew that right off. Just in discussions. I don't like the I don't like people to yell at me, and I don't play fight. My siblings know why I don't play fight. They know that ain't the thing that I do. Uh, but one time, some years ago, before my husband, I was talking to this guy, and we say talking because we weren't officially dating or anything like that. So I stopped talking to him almost immediately. I severed ties because he raised his voice at me. And some of my friends watching, they know this story. And he raised his voice at me. We were actually in the car going somewhere all dressed up for an event, and he raised his voice at me. He had already been going on and on and on about something he was upset about. And I said, and then when he started raising his voice, I said, "Hey, uh, I don't like all of that. Bring it down about 4 notches." And I was driving, and he persisted. So I hit the next exit, hit the light, and he was like, "Well, what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm taking you back home. I'm hitting the north. I'm going north, baby. I got to take you back home because I've already asked you to calm down and stop raising your voice in my car." But by that time, I was holding the wheel with both hands. I couldn't wait to get him back home. And after that, guess what? My block game was strong. Like, we have nothing to talk about at that point in time. I've already told you, and you insist on continuing to do that. But I had to set rules. I had to set boundaries for myself, and I'll talk about that in a different video about boundaries, setting boundaries in relationships and sticking to them. That's something that I had to learn about relationships. Set boundaries, let people know what they are, and when they cross them, I was done with it because I have some things that are game changers or like non-negotiables. I'll say some non-negotiables. So I'll talk about that in a future video. My brother's like, "What's his name? What's his address?" See what I'm talking about? But he will remain nameless to keep him safe. But that's the thing about it is we have to set boundaries, and when it comes down communication in a relationship, we have to have boundaries there. But we also have to be able to openly communicate, and communicating with love and respect. We read a book, my husband and I, years ago. We read a book about love and respect. I'll have to share that with y'all. Give y'all the reference on that to go and read Love and Respect and Boundaries and Boundaries in Marriage. But that applies to any relationship, setting some boundaries. Here go the tip. So I'm always gonna have tips for y'all. So one of the tips that I want to share is, in a relationship, your first duty should be to not offend. That should be your first duty, is to not offend your mate. Let's think about that for a minute. If I'm if I know that my husband um is not, he's not trying to harm me in what he's saying, um if that's our pact, if that's our vow, if that's our agreement, then I'm going to listen, and my heart's not going to be racing. It's going to be like, it's almost like when you take your car in for an oil change, and they give you a call. "Oh, Miss Council, how you doing? This is such and such over at Firestone." Like, man, I brought this thing in to rotate these tires. I know I just bought these tires and everything. I'm already defensive because why you calling me and not telling me to come pick up my car? So I don't even want to talk to you. So that's what I mean. Like, we're already defensive when we get that phone call. So if we're already defensive when that our spouse or our mate comes to us, then we're blocking off. Remember, I said you got to listen and be able to give that same courtesy to them. So you're already blocked off. You ain't hearing nothing they got to say. You already rolling up your sleeves. You wrapping your hands, getting ready to put those boxing gloves on it. So And I speak on that from the flip side of it. But the first duty is not to offend. So your mate, as they're speaking to you, they have to come. Remember what I said with communicating with love and respect? That's what you have to do. Make that agreement. Set that as a boundary and saying, hey, even when you don't like something, there's a way to talk to me and tell me. You might have to send it in a text message and delete it 50, 11 times and or write it down and write it in a letter. But you have to be able to let that person know how you feel. The other tip that I want to share with you is listen and then speak with a loving heart. We are easily offended, and I just talked about that. We're easily offended just as a people. There are some people who are really easygoing and they seem like they are hashtag unbothered, but they may be offended, but we all show it in different ways. What if we considered that our mates actually love us and they have no intent to harm us? Like, what if we go to Chick-fil-A and we drive off, we don't even check the bag, because I heard that you insecure if you check your bag at Chick-fil-A. But we have that much trust in Chick-fil-A that they got our sauces in there, that all the nuggets are there, they didn't forget to give us napkins or straw. We just have that confidence that it's going to be right. When we walk into certain stores, like when we walk into Publix, we know that if we can't find something, somebody's going to stop and ask us, what do we need? When we hop in our cars and we drive to a familiar place, our grocery store, our church, our children's school, a friend's house, we know where we're going. We don't have to have a map to get there. So what if we had that same level of confidence when our mate is communicating with us, and having that confidence that they love us and they have no intent to harm us? That'll take away some of that defense. Let me unwrap my hands. I don't have to put that. I don't have to put my boxing gloves on. Or if they've harmed us in the past or offended us in the past, and it's already been addressed. That's something I know that takes a time to work on. But allowing that time and continuing to work on it, and that they're not trying to repeat that behavior or harm us again. Because I want to say that, because I know that, again, I say that nobody's perfect, and I'm not sitting here claiming that I'm perfect either. So we all have a past. We may have all done something in our relationships, but that still remembering or feeling as though, or acting as though, or moving as though our spouse or our mate has no intent to harm us. Vanessa says we also have to look at how individuals are raised and how they communicate within their family. Oh, that's a whole nother topic. We're gonna have to talk about that one, Vanessa. Oh yeah, I mean, because it does vary, because we have our how we were raised and how we learn to communicate, because our parents, our families are the first people that we know that are going to communicate with us. We may not believe that we see. Our parents may not believe that we heard, but that stuff is ingrained in us. And hey, we know that family member, or when we were raised, that person or that parent that you didn't talk to them about nothing, they were never wrong. How do you learn to communicate if that's what all you know? If you never heard "I'm sorry" from anybody before, why would you think that you need to apologize to anyone? So it's definitely, I think, ingrained in you as you grow up, but that doesn't mean that you can't improve upon that, because anytime you recognize a need for improvement, that's on you as an individual to work to change those things for the better. um for me, that was what I had to do, because getting divorced getting divorced, period, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of feelings behind it, whether it's an amicable divorce or not, or a nasty divorce, whether you had a good relationship with that person or not. You may be all kumbaya-ish and everything, it might be Pollyanna and all, but you still have some feelings behind it. And I think that you should be learning from those mistakes and being able to move forward from that. what can I do to improve myself? And so that's what I ended up doing, saying, hey, what can I do to improve myself to be better for me? It was, I need to be better for me. And then I need to figure myself out and this whole life thing out, because for me, I went from my mother's house to um, being married, and then, well, to college, but I was still in my mother's house. I was still, my mom was still very present in my life and making decisions at such a young age. Then I got married young, and then it was my husband at the time, who was running stuff and, making decisions. And then I was back to my mom. And so I'm gonna be honest with you, it wasn't until I was about 30 when I was comfortable making decisions on my own. So I had to really literally get myself together. And that's the thing about it, is when you see things that you need to improve upon. Remember I told y'all I used to go to toe in an argument? I had time for it, y'all. I was all up, sweating, chest hurting and everything, and not getting anything accomplished. That's where I was. And I couldn't be productive. I couldn't do the things that I needed to do. Why? Because I was all worked up. Honey, I was so worked up, chest hurting. At one point in time, the doctor thought I had had a stroke or a heart attack, because I was under so much stress, and my EKG was abnormal. So that's what happened. And I had to make a choice. Y'all, I was 28 years old when that happened. And I had to make a choice. Do I want to continue down this path and be that statistic? You know how you read about your classmates on Facebook or something like that. I'm like, dang, he was so young, or she, oh, dang, what happened to her? Yeah, I want to be that person, and I wanted to be here for my child. So I had to make some quick decisions and some life changing decisions about, girl. So I had to have a conversation with myself, like, girl, what you finna do? What you about to do? What you want? You know, that is very important in making the decision. It's a choice, and everything that I talk about here, it's a choice. It's an individual choice. You've got to make decisions. And so when you decide that you want to improve the communication, you have to have that conversation with your spouse. You have to have that conversation with your mate, and even be able to sit down and say, hey, something wrong. Something's wrong. I don't know what it is. I want to work it out. Let's figure this thing out together. And as long as that person say something like, like, I agree, I'm in this with you, we in this together, something, then you got something there and you can work through it. I believe that you can. So those are my tips for the day. I appreciate you always joining me, giving me your time in the evening. Every Monday and Thursday, I will be coming back to you again on Monday with a new topic. So I appreciate you liking, sharing this video, share this post. I do have a group specifically for divorced women and women who are remarried. It's called Divorced Like Us. And so if you would like to be a part of that group, please join it on Facebook. Please make sure you like my Miss Counsel page, MISS Counsel. I know it's backwards on my shirt, but shout out to my girl Angelita who made these shirts for me. But thank you again for joining me tonight. I am Miss Counsel, and Miss Counsel knows a little bit about everything. I ain't telling you what I heard, I'm just telling you what I know. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Good night.